Campfire Classics is a classic literature podcast. However, your hosts will occasionally use not-so-classy language and immature humor to describe very mature situations. As such, listener discretion is advised. Hello, I'm Ken Sandberg.
And I'm Heather Michelle Lawler.
Welcome to Campfire Classics, where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf.
A total eclipse of the heart. Of the sun. Yeah.
A mostly total eclipse of the sun, depending on where you're watching it from.
A very cloudy eclipse of the sun in Philly. So, hey, yeah, everybody. I know this is coming out a few days after, but happy solar eclipse week here in the world that we live in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, most of us live in this world. I suppose to our listeners on Mars or anywhere else that is receiving this broadcast probably thousands of years from now, depending on how long it takes the sound waves to travel into outer space. You don't live on this world of ours.
But, this is a little snippet of what Earth was like in 2024.
Welcome to Earth Culture 101.
Yeah, this is just like, a time capsule? This is a time capsule from 2024, April 8th, 2024. With whiskey involved.
So to who is almost certainly the Earth's new alien overlords, welcome to what its culture used to be like.
Yeah, and I hope you enjoy.
For our regular listeners here in the year of our Lord 2024.
Which Lord is that?
I'm really not sure.
Cool.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Not the alien overlords.
Okay, yeah, because we haven't met them yet.
Yeah. So some other lord. Coffee, whiskey, good bowl of French fries. Take your pick. I was not sure which way you were going, since the first two are chemical assistance of some kind. I was thinking a bowl of what is it you're going to be doing now?
I mean, that is some people's Lord as well. I mean, worship who you want, but, be smart about it.
And considerate of others.
Yes.
Anyway, to our listeners here in the year of whatever Lord you choose to worship, however you do that, 2024. This is Campfire Classics. As I said, where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf. It's a podcast. You know that because you're listening to it.
Hey, and we like to tell stories and stuff, but sometimes we watch solar eclipses as well.
Yeah. Or celebrate Rex Manning Day.
It is also Rex Manning Day. I'd say no more, more.
It's a complicated day out here in the world.
It really is.
There's a lot going on.
Like, there was an earthquake a couple days ago, and then there's a solar eclipse, and it's Rex Manning Day, and my parents are coming to town tomorrow. I mean, there's just a lot going on.
I was in the middle of recording an audition when the earthquake came through. I was down in our basement, and I was recording an audition, and I heard this like rumbling sound, and it ruined the take I was in, which was unfortunate. But I just thought it was like our neighbors being their generally overly loud, kind of douchey, inconsiderate selves. And it wasn't until hours later when Heather texted me about this earthquake that we were experiencing that I went, oh, so my audition wasn't ruined by jerk neighbors. It was ruined by God.
By the overlords. I was doing an event for Make-A-Wish with WWE, which was really cool, as Betsy Ross. Gritty and Swoop kissed my hand. I'm just saying. But we were like literally in the midst of that event when it happened, and I didn't feel it. Like, I mean, the whole room was kind of, vibrating in a sense, like the whole time of the event, because there's a lot of people in this room on a second floor, and like, I just assumed, I guess at one point we probably felt something, but it wasn't like, oh, an earthquake, because we're not in California. But yeah, afterwards there were a bunch of news reporters, like, because like the entire news stations of everything in Philadelphia were there. And I walked outside to check in with my PR person because I'm fancy.
Your personal PR
my
person?
personal PR person. And they were talking. They're like, did you feel it? Did you feel it? Because, of course, they're news people. So they're getting like news alerts at all times. So they got it like right away. So it must have just happened like right before I walked out. And yeah, so did you feel the earth move under your feet? You feel the sky burning down. I mean, the sun,
the solar eclipse.
The solar eclipse. Yeah. I hope the sky doesn't burn down.
It's real upstairs, downstairs kind of weak.
I have only ever heard that referred to as someone getting a haircut and like a pubic waxing, but or like going to the gynecologist and like the shrink or their shrink or something. And upstairs, downstairs kind of weak. But yeah, it is an upstairs, downstairs because like literally the center of the earth shook.
Yeah.
And the big ball in the sky like aligned with each other.
Heaven and hell are both kind of rumbling, metaphorically speaking.
So this is literally an episode about the overlords.
It is.
All right.
It is the end times.
I mean, a bunch of fucking idiots thought it was the rapture today.
Yeah.
And which was hilarious to watch some videos about because you're just like, how fucking stupid. Like, these people vote.
Oh, also, if you were human sacrificed today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your sacrifice, but also could you please write in to 5050artsproduction@gmail.com or message us on any of our social media. Just look for Campfire Classics Podcast. Let us know how you were sacrificed, what the process was, who you were being sacrificed to, and really, most importantly, how it is you're listening to this episode.
Well, they're probably in heaven or hell. They're in heaven or hell, and the podcast has reached them or they're on Mars.
Welcome to Campfire Classics, the official podcast of the afterlife.
Hell yeah. I don't know if that means the podcast is good or bad, but, I
suppose
guess
it depends on if we're playing in heaven or hell.
I mean, I'm bringing a keg to hell. I'll see you there.
But if we're playing
dance party.
If we're playing in hell, it means we're part of the perpetual torture until the end of eternity.
If that's what hell is.
If we're being played in heaven, it means we're part of the perpetual reward until the end of eternity.
I mean, that depends on what you think of what heaven or hell is, because like the Greeks believed that everyone went to Hades, like went to the underworld,
which is a different thing from heaven or hell.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm cool for like the official podcast of the Greek underworld
of life after death.
Yeah, that's cool.
Great.
I'm all about that.
That bing bong doom 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 boom bing bing beep 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 boom boom is
that song you wrote. Yeah.
That's the elevator music.
Oh.
Every time you're waiting for an elevator to take you to a different circle of hell, that's what's playing.
I love it. And then you're just waiting for us to go, hi, my name's Ken Sandberg, and I'm Heather Michelle Lawler. Yeah. And then you hear the fire crackling. Oh, the fire crackling, of course, because you're in the underworld.
Yeah.
I love it.
I like this game.
I like this game, too. We should rename the podcast.
Or at least
it's not Campfire Classics. It's
Hellfire Classics.
Hellfire Classics. Hellfire Classics, the official podcast of the underworld. That seems appropriate since WWE WrestleMania was here this week. Wow.
What do you think? Is that enough?
I think that's good. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about that because cool. I think we are moving on up or moving on down the world, depending on how you see it.
So, welcome to episode 1 of Hellfire Classics.
Hellfire.
Welcome to Campfire Classics, where, as I've said a couple of times now, we do try to read those books that look really good on your shelf. What that basically means is every week we cold read a short story that we have pulled from the public domain. That's right, we cold read it. If you're not a theater person or haven't listened in before, that means we read it out loud for the very first time right here on the air with you listening. And you hear terrible accent choices and difficulty reading words. And
that's usually me.
laughter at accidental or intentional penis jokes.
Yeah, or fart jokes, or
or whatever else.
or silly jokes.
Scatological and sexual humor is
And
really
that's why we are Hellfire Classics. Yep.
scatological literature. That's what we do here.
Agatha Christie's like, what the fuck?
You said, huh?
Arthur Conan Doyle's like, I have something to say, but they're listening in the underworld, so they'll write in on the social medias.
Yes. So Agatha, Arthur, because we're on a first name basis.
Poe,
Edgar.
Edgar. We've got like eight authors that have Edgar as their first name.
I'm pretty sure we have half a dozen Williams too.
Yeah.
Anyway, write in and let us know what you think of how we're destroying your works. So anyway, this week I have selected a story for Heather to read to you, which will be very exciting. But before we jump into that, I'm going to give just a few fun facts to sort of set the tone.
Fun facts.
So this week we are revisiting an author from some time ago, W. Jacobs.
Oh, yeah.
Sharp-memoried listeners will know that this is the guy who gave us
The Monkey's Paw.
The Monkey's Paw.
Yes.
That is correct.
I remembered. I was like, that was the Monkey Paw one. Yeah.
Way back in episode 44, entitled Harass 'em with Butter.
Holy shit. I'm amazed when I remember things like that. Because, like, we do record this, like, without rehearsal, without anything. And, like, while we're in it, it's, like, in it. But, like, if it's not something that really sticks with you, sometimes it kind of floats away.
Yeah.
But that I remember.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
So, back in episode 44, which Heather selected the story that week, you admitted that during the fun facts that you had done a really bad job of keeping his timeline straight.
Oh,
which
good.
got things a little bit jumbled, and you were heavily distracted by Ginger Dick.
Wait, what?
You can listen back to that episode if you want to know what that's all about.
See, I don't remember that part of the episode.
But as a result,
Ginger Dick.
the fun facts and biography got a little bit jumbled, so I'm going to give a quick recap.
What are you talking about? I always do such thorough good research. Yeah.
Yeah, thorough good research.
Yep.
So, quick recap. William Wymark Jacobs was a Virgo, born on September 8th, 1863
Go
in
Virgos.
London.
Go, Virgo.
He had a tabloid-free life, and he died also in London in 1943, just 7 days short of his 80th birthday.
And that's the end of his bio.
That's it. That's everything he did.
All I did was mix up when he died and when he was born.
Which was really confusing.
Yeah, it happens.
It has been said that Jacobs, quote, wrote stories of three kinds, describing the misadventures of sailormen ashore,
Ooh, so
celebrating
syphilis. Tales of the syphilis. Taylor of Sailor Syphilis.
Taylor Syphilis? Is that her new nickname?
Oh, no, I hope not. We got to talk about Travis Kelce if that's true.
Shoreborn syphilis, celebrating the artful dodger of the slow-witted village.
Okay. Like, so small town life.
Small town life with con men.
Oh, okay.
The
okay.
artful dodger.
Like the Charles Dickens penned.
And Tales of the Macabre.
The Dark, which was the Monkey's Paw.
Yeah. So, spooky, con men, and syphilis. That's what he wrote about.
And this is why we are the official podcast of the underworld.
So he was super popular up until about the time World War I hit, when all of a sudden no one cared anymore.
About anything?
Or something. I mean, pretty much the world kind of went to shit.
It's kind of like COVID.
A lot of people were dying.
Well, a lot of people, yeah.
So he had to stoop to a life in the theater.
Oh my God.
I know.
Disgusting.
He started adapting his own short stories into plays.
Ew. Plays.
Other authors who were obviously hacks because they were forced to write for the theater include J.M. Barrie of Peter Pan fame.
Yes, Finding Neverland.
Agatha Christie, who's she again?
I don't remember.
L. Frank Baum, he wrote this little book called The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Thornton Wilder And Arthur Miller, it was so bad for him that people mostly associate him as a playwright now, poor guy.
That is very true. And he really suffered for it. He definitely did not marry Marilyn Monroe. He was really slumming it there as a playwright.
So in 1914, there was a staging of a trial, or a mock trial, really, for John Jasper based on the murder of one Edwin Drood. Mock trial based on
the mystery of Edwin Drood.
W. Jacobs was a member of the mock jury. The foreman of the jury was George Bernard Shaw. And G.K. Chesterton was the judge. It was a star-studded affair by the literary standards of the time.
All right.
Jasper,
some little stunt casting like Broadway.
Stunt casting, yeah. Jasper was found guilty of manslaughter by the jury, and Judge Chesterton ruled that the mystery of Edwin Drood was unsolvable and fined everyone except himself for contempt of court.
I mean, that's kind of how the musical goes. I think they like the audience votes kind of thing. So it could be anyone or everyone, you know.
But anyway, yeah, that was a little silly public theatrical nonsense.
I mean, you got to be entertained during times of war. Get people's minds off. Comedy is important when things are shitty. Note to all playwrights out there.
Anyway, that's not so much fun facts as it is just a random rabbit hole that Wikipedia took me down, and I thought it was interesting. So, today you will be reading the short story that Jacobs based his very first play on.
Oh, no.
First published in the Windsor Magazine in December 1897, this is Jerry Bundler.
Jerry Bundler.
Let's start this fight.
All right. Jerry Bundler by W. Jacobs. It wanted a few nights to Christmas, a festival for which the small market town in Torchester was making extensive preparations.
It was a few nights until Christmas. Let me explain to you what Christmas is, for those of you who don't know.
I love that it said it wanted a few nights to Christmas. Like,
yeah,
who's it and why do they want it?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is this Jack Skellington?
Yeah. Ooh.
He just wants a few nights until Christmas.
Well, because he's got to kidnap Santa and figure out what the fuck's going on.
Kidnap
What's this?
Santa Claus.
That has been on my head. That's been on my that tune has been in my head all day. That's so funny. Da 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 da. The narrow streets, which had been thronged with people, were now almost deserted. The cheap Jack from Jack Skellington.
Yeah.
There it is. The Cheap Jack from London, with the remnant of breath left him after his evening's excursions, was making feeble attempts to blow out his lamp. Naphthla lamp?
I think you got it right.
I want to spell this for people. It's Naphthha. So it's an F and a th next to each other. It's naphthla lamp.
A naphtha lamp is a forerunner of the paraffin lamp.
Okay.
And
it's a gas lamp.
Yeah, it's a flammable kind of liquid.
Okay. Naphtha.
Naphtha.
Naphtha lamp. It sounds like I have a lisp.
Mm-hmm.
If I ever have to play a character with a lisp, I'm going to say naphtha lamp. Naphtha lamp.
Yeah, and apparently they were in common use from the mid-1800s up through about World War I.
Good timing.
So that gives us a 60-year window when the story is.
Cool. So Cheap Jack is in London, and he's trying to blow out his naphtha lamp.
Yeah, Cheap Jack is trying to get a blowy.
Cheap Jack is trying to blow his naphtha lamp. Mm-hmm. And the last shop's open.
Cheap Jack.
Is that like Cockney?
A Cheap Jack is like a person who sells cheap shit.
Oh, like a fucking traveling salesman or like a pawn shop guy. Yeah. That makes sense.
So, the cheap Jack from London, he's like the traveling merchant from London who sells
merchant telling
knickknacks and bullshit.
It's like the shit at like the cash register that no one actually really needs. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the traveling tchotchke salesman. Is what it really is.
Yeah, there it is. So he was making feeble attempts to blow out his naphtha lamp, and the last shops open were rapidly closing for the night because it's Christmas.
Because it's Christmas time. Well, it's a few nights.
A few nights before. In the comfortable coffee room of the Old Boar's Head, half a dozen guests, principally commercial travelers, sat talking by the light of the fire. The talk had drifted from trade to politics, from politics to religion. Oh, God, that's a dangerous conversation. From politics to religion, and so by easy stages to the supernatural. Wow, this sounds like us on this podcast. We're just sitting by the light of the fire, talking about what we do.
We talk about bullshit.
And then usually like politics or religion came up, like today, religion. And now we're talking about the supernatural.
Ghosts or space aliens.
Ghosts or space aliens. Wow. All right. This is like a time traveler and they're just writing about us. Cool. 3 ghost stories, never known to fail before, had fallen flat. There was too much noise outside, too much light within. The 4th story was told by an old hand with more success. The streets were quiet, and he had turned the gas out. He didn't fart during his story, because farts make stories funny.
Yeah. Either that or it's, I mean, the less fart humor version of that is he was a dick. He was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn off all the lights.
Well, if you're telling a good ghost story, that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you do is like, let's turn the lights out and only have the candle lights. Like no gas lamps, no nothing like emitting massive amounts, just like the firelight. In the flickering light of the fire, in the flickering light of the fire, as it shone on the glasses and danced with the shadows on the wall, the story proved so enthralling that George, the waiter, whose presence had been forgotten, created a very disagreeable sensation by suddenly starting up from a dark corner and gliding silently from the room. They're like, fuck! That's what I call a good story, said one of the men, sipping his hot whiskey. Cheers. Of course, it's an old idea that spirits like to get into the company of human beings. A man told me once that he traveled down the Great Western with a ghost and hadn't the slightest suspicion of it until the inspector came for tickets. My friend said the way the ghost tried to keep up appearances by feeling for it in all its pockets and looking on the floor was quite touching. Ultimately, it gave up and with a faint groan vanished through the ventilator. Oh, the reluctant traveling ghost.
Yeah.
That's cute. That'll do, Hurst, said another man. It's not a little old gentleman. It's not a subject for jesting, said the little old gentleman who had been an active listener. I've never seen an apparition myself, but I know people who have, and I consider that they form a very interesting link between us and the afterlife. There's a ghost story connected with this house, you know. Oh, of course there is. Never heard of it, said another speaker, and I've been here for some years now. It dates back a long time now, said the old gentleman. You've heard about Jerry Bundler, George? Well, I just had odds and ends, sir, said the old waiter, but I never put much count to 'em. There was one chap here what said he saw, and the governor sacked him on prompt. So the guy said he saw a ghost and he got fired.
Yep.
So I guess if you saw a ghost from then on, you just knew not to mention it. Cool.
We don't talk about...
Yeah, we don't talk about Jerry Bundler. My father was a native of this town, said the old gentleman, and knew the story well. He was a truthful man and a steady churchgoer, but I've heard him declare that once in his life he saw the appearance of Jerry Bundler in this house. "And who was this Jerry Bundler?" inquired a voice. I love that I just have a group of drinking men to voice in this one. "A London thief, pickpocket, highwayman, anything he could turn his dishonest hand to," replied the old gentleman. "And he was run to earth in this house one Christmas week some 80 years ago. He took his last supper in this very room. And after he had gone to bed, a couple of Bow Street runners who had followed him from London but lost the scent a bit, went upstairs with the landlord and tried the door. It was stout oak and fast. So one went into the yard and by means of a short ladder got onto the window-sill, while the other stayed outside the door. Those below in the yard saw the man crouching on the sill, and then there was a sudden smash of glass, and with a cry he fell in a heap on the stones at their feet. Then, in the moonlight, they saw the white face of the pickpocket peeping over the sill, and while some stayed in the yard, others ran into the house and helped the other man to break the door in. It was difficult to obtain an entrance even then, for it was barred with heavy furniture. But they got in at last, and the first thing that met their eyes was the body of Jerry, dangling from the top of the bed by his own handkerchief.
I'm sorry, he took his handkerchief and hanged himself?
That's a big fucking handkerchief.
That's a big-ass Kleenex.
That sounds like his bath towel. What pocket is he putting that handkerchief in?
Are handkerchiefs bigger than I think they are?
I don't think so.
Because I'm thinking like a bandana, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like what you put in your pocket and hand to someone when they're, crying. And yeah, it's a handkerchief.
He hung himself from the bed frame with that.
He's a tiny person.
He's a tiny person, or he's much more creative than I am.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. But
that's
ingenuity.
Space-bending origami going on there. Mm-hmm. That's some TARDIS shit.
Or he's not dead. "Which bedroom was it?" asked 2 or 3 voices together. The narrator shook his head. "That I can't tell you, but the story goes that Jerry still haunts this house, and my father used to declare positively that the last time he slept here, the ghost of Jerry Bundler lowered itself from the top of his bed and tried to strangle him." "That'll do," said an uneasy voice. "I wish you'd thought to ask your father which bedroom it was." "What for?" inquired the old gentleman.
Duh.
Because then we know what room is haunted, you moron.
Dumbass question.
Hello, have you never stayed in a haunted hotel? Everyone wants the room that's haunted. If this guy that runs the Boar's Head Inn wants to sell some haunted tours, gotta know what room it was.
Which room it is.
"Well, I should take care not to sleep in it, that's all," said the voice shortly. "Oh, there's nothing to fear," said the other. "I don't believe for a moment that a ghost could really hurt one. In fact, my father used to confess that it was only the unpleasantness of the thing that upset him, and that for all practical purposes, Jerry's fingers might have been made of cotton wool for all the harm they could do." "That's all very fine," said the last speaker again. "A ghost story is a ghost story, sir, but when a gentleman tells a tale of a ghost in the house and which one is going to sleep, I call it most ungentlemanly." Oh, this poor person's terrified. "Pooh!"
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh, which is also connected to this.
Strangling your throat out in the nighttime, Winnie the Pooh.
Wow.
Winnie the Pooh.
Didn't they make a movie about that?
Fucking kill you in your sleep.
Isn't that a movie?
It's called Blood and Honey.
Blood and Honey. I was I'm pretty sure I saw a poster that was kind of that. I heard very mixed reviews about it.
Suppose it depends on what you're into. Psycho killer.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? This is a very musical episode. I like it.
Maybe we'll promote it as Campfire Classics, the musical.
Hellfire the musical.
Hellfire Classics,
Hellfire
the musical.
Classics, the musical. We're going to Broadway, y'all. Pooh, nonsense, said the old gentleman, rising. Ghosts can't hurt you. For my own part, I should rather like to see one. Good night, gentlemen.
Somebody's gonna die.
Yeah, or someone's gonna say a ghost. Or someone in the room is already a ghost. I
see dead people.
I feel like I just laughed like Alan Tudyk's character in Resident Alien. I was like, good night, said the others. And I only hope Jerry'll pay you a visit, added the nervous man as the door closed. Ooh, creepy. Bring some more whiskey, George, said a stout commercial. I want keeping up when the talk turns this way. So, he doesn't want to go to sleep?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And George is the waiter.
Yes.
Yeah. Shall I light the gas, Mr. Malcolm? Said George. No, the fire's very comfortable, said the traveler. Now, gentlemen, any of you know any more? I love British people and their fucking ghost stories at Christmas. It's so good. I love this. I'm still like super like much a proponent of this coming back into the world.
We're making it happen one Christmas at a time.
Mm-hmm.
4 listeners at a time.
like 18 listeners at a time.
Dear listener, if you want to be part of a much larger nerddom, share this episode with somebody.
With everybody you know.
Honestly, I'll settle for just 5 people.
Yeah, I'll settle for 3. Yeah, if they like this shit.
Just share it. Share a link to this episode on your social media and caption it, "Oh my God, I can't believe they said that."
It works.
That's it. That's all you have to do. That is your challenge. And tag us so that we know you did it.
Or like, oh my God, I can't tell if I'm offended or if I love it. Something like that.
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, they're definitely getting canceled for this one.
Oh! Yep, that'll get clicks. Put it on TikTok. Everyone will watch it. All right. So this stout guy with whiskey wants more ghost stories. Then we hear, I think we've had enough, said another man. We shall be thinking we see spirits next, and we're not all like the old gentleman who's just gone.
You know how those old guys are.
Yeah.
Visual gags don't work on a podcast.
Drinky.
I made the drinky gesture.
Yeah, but they're all still drinky. They're actually drinking more to avoid going to bed. So they're just going to get drinky, and then they're going to see ghosts. Old humbug, said Hearst. I should like to put it to the test. Suppose I dress up as Jerry Bundler and go give him a chance of displaying his courage. Oh no, these fuckers. Rude.
Oh shit.
It's about to go down. I did not see that twist coming.
Nope, but I see where this twist is going.
I sure do. Bravo, said Malcolm huskily, drowning one or two faint no's. Just for the joke, gentlemen. No, drop it, Hearst, said another man. Only for the joke, said Hearst, somewhat eagerly. I've got some things upstairs in which I'm going to play in the rivals, knee breeches, buckles, and all sorts of things. It's a rare chance. And if you wait a bit, I'll give you a full dress rehearsal entitled Jerry Bundler or The Nocturnal Strangler.
Hey, guy. Nocturnal Strangler. I think that means something else.
That's some wishful thinking, I think, sir. I don't know if it's that kind of inn, but maybe you can buy one. Some of the inns had some wenches that came with them if you had the right money. Just I mean, this is just history, y'all. I'm just educating people.
I'd like your mutton sandwich, a gin and tonic, and a nocturnal strangler.
The nocturnal strangler at 9:30 p.m. promptly. You won't frighten us, said the commercial with a husky laugh. I don't know that, said Hearst sharply. It's a question of acting, that's all. I'm pretty good, ain't I, Summers? Oh, you're all right for an amateur, said his friend with a laugh. I bet you a level sov you don't frighten me, said the stout traveler. Done, said Hearst. I'll take the bet to frighten you first, and the old gentleman afterwards. These gentlemen shall be the judges. You won't frighten us, sir, said another man, because we've prepared for you. But you'd better leave the old man alone. It's a dangerous play. Well, I'll try you first, said Hearst, springing up. No gas, mind. So turn the lights off. I think it's like you can't turn the lights on, which I now see exactly where this is going because no one's going to be able to see.
This is going to go
This is going to be amazing. I love this already, and I can already see why he turned this into a play.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is fun. It's just a bunch of drunk guys sitting around telling ghost stories, and then they act one out, but I'm going to guess a ghost arrives. He ran lightly upstairs to his room, leaving the others, most of whom had been drinking somewhat freely, to wrangle about his proceedings. It ended in two of them going to bed. So he took his damn time getting ready. He had to
it's hard to look like a ghost.
He had to do his warm-ups.
Yeah.
He had to, put on his stage makeup.
He was doing his tremors.
Yeah. That sounded kind of like a ghost.
Yeah.
Or a nocturnal strangling. I don't know.
If you do it right.
He's crazy on acting, said Summers, lighting his pipe. Thinks he's the equal of almost anyone. Thinks he's the equal of anybody almost. Doesn't matter with us, but I won't let him go to the old man. And he won't mind so long as he gets an opportunity of acting to us. Oh, this is like your friend that always wants to put on a play. It's like, let's do the theater.
So, I was a waiter at the Jekyll and Hyde Club
Yes,
for
you
about
were.
a year. And we got lots of tourists, obviously. It's a tourist trappy kind of place.
Is it still there?
It was. It is no longer there.
It is no longer a thing.
And one very memorable early dinner shift. There was a family at the table at one of my tables, and they were chit-chatting, and it was mom and dad and a daughter who was probably 15, 16, something like that.
Like high school, yeah.
Yeah, or early in high school sometime. I mentioned that I was waiting tables to make money in between acting gigs, and it turned out the daughter also wanted to be an actor.
Of course she did.
She started chatting a little bit.
Was it me? No, I'm not younger than you.
You're not younger than me. One thing led to another, and she ended up talking her way onto the stage at the Jekyll and Hyde Club, where she proceeded to a cappella into the microphone perform Summer in Ohio from last 5 years in its entirety.
Was it good?
No. Well, I mean,
that's not a song you want to sing a cappella anyway.
it was good for a 16-year-old performing Summer in Ohio a cappella into a cheap mic at a restaurant.
Wow. Okay, I take it back. That was definitely not me. If I was... Now, I would find a way to get on the stage, but I would, be one of the ghouls. I would, I very much wanted to be part of the show.
Yeah.
She just went, this is my Broadway debut. Even though the last 5 years has never played on Broadway.
Young lady who sang at the Jekyll and Hyde Club.
She's listening.
If you're listening to this, and statistically, I know that you are.
We are very
reach
famous.
out, contact me, let me know your name. I promise I won't share it publicly, but I'm curious how you're doing.
Yeah, how you doing? What's up? And you know what? Good for your courage.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of balls.
I never would have done that.
Yeah, that's ballsy as fuck. I can't barely even walk into an audition and sing. And I do this for a living. All right, what the fuck's going on? Okay, so he's taking his time.
He's really excited
to act.
Is
And
where that all
his
came from.
friend is like, guys, just let him play along, and then we're going to send him home. Well, I hope he'll hurry up, said Malcolm, yawning. It's after 12 now. Nearly half an hour passed. Malcolm drew his watch from his pocket and was busy winding it when George, the waiter, who had been sent in on an errand to the bar, burst suddenly into the room and rushed towards them. He's coming, gentlemen, he said breathlessly. Why are you frightened, George? Oh, why are you frightened, George? Said the stout commercial with a chuckle. It was the suddenness of it, said George sheepishly. And besides, I didn't look for seeing him in the bar. There's only a glimmer of light in there, and he was sitting on the floor behind the bar. I nearly trod on him. Oh, well, you'll never make a man, George. Did they just call him a pussy?
Yeah, that's
man.
That's late 19th century for suck it up, princess.
Yeah. Wait for it, boys. I have a feeling you're going to shit your pants. All right, here we go. Malcolm said, you'll never make it for it, George. Well, it took me unawares, said the waiter. Not that I'd have gone to the bar by myself if I'd known he was there, and I don't believe you would either, sir. Nonsense, said Malcolm. I'll go and fetch him in. Oh, good. Now he's separating the parties. I love this. You don't know what it's like, sir, said George, catching him by the sleeve. It ain't fit to look at by yourself. It ain't, indeed. It's got the... What's that? They all started at the sound of a smothered cry from the staircase and the sound of somebody running hurriedly along the passage. Before anybody could speak, the door flew open and a figure bursting into the room flung itself gasping and shivering upon them. What is it? What's the matter? Demanded Malcolm. Why, it's Mr. Hurst. He shook him rapidly and then held some spirit to his lips. Hurst drank it greedily and with a sharp intake of his breath, gripped him by the arm. Light the gas, George, said Malcolm. The waiter obeyed hastily. Hurst, a ludicrous but pitiful figure in knee breeches and a coat, a large wig all awry, and his face a mess of grease paint. So he did go put on his fucking makeup. And his face a mess with grease paint clung to him, trembling. Now, what's the matter? Asked Malcolm. I've seen it, said Hurst with a hysterical sob. Oh, Lord, I'll never play the fool again. Never.
Ugh, the end of an acting career.
Aw, no, never again. Seen what? Said the others. Him, it, the ghost, anything, said Hurst wildly. Rot, said Malcolm uneasily. I was coming down the stairs, said Hurst, just capering down, and I thought it ought to do. And I felt a tap. He broke off suddenly and peered nervously through the open door into the passage. I thought I saw it again, he whispered. Look, at the foot of the stairs. Can you see anything? No, there's nothing there, said Malcolm, whose own voice shook a little. Go on, you felt a tap on your shoulder? I turned round and saw it. A little wicked head and a dead white face. Bah! That's what I saw in the bar, said George. Horrid it was. Devilish. Hurst shuddered and, still retaining his nervous grip on Malcolm's sleeve, dropped into a chair. Well, it's a most unaccountable thing, said the dumbfounded Malcolm, turning round to the others. It's the last time I come to this house. I'll leave tomorrow, said George. I wouldn't go down to that bar again by myself, no, not for £50. It's talking about the thing that caused it, I suspect, said one of the men. We've all been talking about this thing and having it on our minds. I mean, practically, we've been forming a spiritualistic circle without knowing it. Hang the old gentleman, said Malcolm heartily. Upon my soul, I'm half afraid to go to bed. It's odd they should both think they saw something. I saw it as plain as I see you, sir, said George solemnly. Perhaps if you keep your eyes turned up the passage, you'll see it for yourself. They followed the direction of his finger, but saw nothing, although one of them fancied a head peeped round the corner of the wall. Who'll come down to the bar, said Malcolm, looking round. You can go if you like, said the others with a faint laugh. We'll wait here for you. The stout traveler walked towards the door and took a few steps up the passage. Then he stopped. All was quite silent, and he walked slowly to the end and looked down fearfully toward the glass partition which shut off the bar. 3 times he made as though to go to it. Then he turned back, and glancing over his shoulder, came hurriedly back into the room. Did you see it, sir? Whispered George. Don't know, said Malcolm shortly. I fancied I saw something, but it might have been fancy. I'm in the mood to see anything just now. How are you feeling, sir? Oh, I feel a bit better now, said Hearst somewhat brusquely. Ooh, what's that mean? Bruce Lee.
Bruce
Like,
Lee was a talented martial artist.
Yes.
Whose life was cut tragically short.
I didn't realize Bruce Lee was in this story. That's cool.
Rude,
okay. Oh, I feel a bit better now, said Hearst somewhat brusquely, as all eyes were turned upon him. I dare say you think I'm easily scared, but you didn't see it. Not at all, said Malcolm, smiling faintly despite himself. I'm going to bed, said Hearst, noticing the smile and resenting it. Will you share my room with me, Summers?
This is the longest con of a pickup line ever.
This is the longest con to get a nocturnal, what was it?
Nocturnal strangler.
Nocturnal strangler. He just wants a nocturnal strangler from his traveling companion.
Summers, the nocturnal strangler.
And Summers replies with, I will with pleasure, said his friend, provided you don't mind sleeping with the gas on full all night. Oh, wow, he farts. Ooh. He's a farter, all right. He's a night farter.
I mean, listen, there's someone out there for everyone.
There really is, and they clearly love each other. All right, so Hearst, the amateur actor, and his friend Summers are going to snuggle together in the light of the fire. He rose from his seat and, bidding the company a friendly good night, left the room with his crestfallen friend. The others saw them to the foot of the stairs and, having heard their door close, returned to the coffee room. Well, I suppose the bet's off, said the stout commercial, poking the fire and then standing with his legs apart on the hearth rug. Though, as far as I can see, I won it. I never saw a man so scared in all my life. Sort of poetic justice about it, isn't there? Never mind about poetry or justice, says one of the listeners. Who's going to sleep with me?
Now everybody wants someone to sleep with.
So now we're just having a Eyes Wide Shut party.
It's a key party.
Key party.
It's a key party.
But it's called
Everyone's just partnering off.
Yeah. It's like, I need a friend.
Who knew ghosts made you so horny?
Oh, Hellfire Classics. Gets you in the spirit, gets you in the mood, that kind of thing. So now somebody else needs a cuddler. I will, said Malcolm affably. So now Malcolm's scared enough, too. And I suppose we share a room together, Mr. Link, said the third man, turning to the fourth. No, thank you, said the other briskly. I don't believe in ghosts. If anything comes into my room, I shall shoot it.
So, that is the line that caused me to choose this story.
I don't believe in ghosts. If anything comes into my room, I shall shoot it.
Yep. I was looking through a list of short stories, And it came to Jerry Bundler by W.W. Jacobs, and it had each story on this page had a one-line pull quote, and the pull quote from this story was, "I don't believe in ghosts. If anything comes into my room, I shall shoot it." And I was like, "That's the one.
That's hilarious.
That's the story right there."
So far, so good. Now let's see if he actually ends up shooting somebody who's pretending to be a ghost, or if there really is a ghost, or if we ever find out. "That won't hurt a spirit, Leek," said Malcolm decisively. "Well, the noise be like company to me," said Leek, "and it'll wake the house too. But if you're nervous, sir," he said with a grin to the man who had suggested sharing his room, "George'll only be too pleased to sleep on the doormat inside your door, I know." They're not going to let George sleep on the bed?
Nah.
Rude. It's just because he sounds like he's Cockney. They're like, "You don't get to sleep on the bed here because you sound like this and we sound like this." It's class warfare.
Yeah, that's it. It's class warfare through ghosts.
Yes.
Ghosts are notorious bigots.
It's very true. Or capitalists or... "That I will, sir," said George fervently. Because George actually doesn't want to be alone either at this point. Because he actually saw something.
Yep.
"And if you gentlemen would only come down to me to the bar to put the gas out, I could never be sufficiently grateful." They went out in a body, and with the exception of Leek, peering carefully before them as they went, George turned the light out in the bar, and they returned, unmolested.
Well, that's good.
See, I told you it was an eyes wide shut party.
Yeah.
Leek said he didn't want to sleep with any of the boys, but all the boys that have paired up are like, "Let's just go into the bar and turn the light out and see what happens." But apparently they all
no one
chickened
got
out.
molested,
They all chickened out. They were like, "I'm scared. We'll wait till we get to our rooms." Unmolested. So they returned unmolested to the... I don't think I've ever seen that word used in one of our stories.
Really?
I mean, we get ejaculated a lot.
I don't know if we've ever used unmolested. Certainly the word molested has popped up.
Yeah. Okay. And they returned unmolested to the coffee room and, avoiding the sardonic smile of Leek, prepared to separate for the night. "Give me the candle while you put the gas out, George," said the traveler. The waiter handed it to him and extinguished the gas. And at the same moment, all distinctly heard a step in the passage outside. It stopped at the door, and as they watched with bated breath, the door creaked and slowly opened. Malcolm fell back, open-mouthed, as a white, leering face with sunken eyeballs and close-cropped bullet head appeared at the opening. For a few seconds, the creature stood regarding them, blinking in a strange fashion at the candle. Then, with a sliding movement, it came a little way into the room and stood there as if bewildered. Not a man spoke or moved, but all watched with a horrible fascination as the creature removed its dirty neckcloth and its head rolled on its shoulders. For a minute it paused, and then, holding the rag before it, moved towards Malcolm. The candle went out suddenly with a flash and a bang. There was a smell of powder and something writhing in the darkness on the floor, a faint, choking cough, and then silence. Malcolm was the first to speak. "Matches," he said in a strange voice. George struck one. Then he leapt at the gas and a burner flamed from the match. Malcolm touched the thing on the floor with his foot and found it soft. He looked at his companions. They mouthed inquiries at him, but he shook his head. He lit the candle and, kneeling down, examined the silent thing on the floor. Then he rose swiftly and dipped his handkerchief in a jug of water, bent down again, and grimly wiped the white face. Then he sprang back with a cry and incredulous horror, pointing at it. Leek's pistol fell to the floor and he shut out the sight with his hands, but the others, crowding forward, gazed spellbound at the dead face of Hurst. Before a word was spoken, the door opened and Summers hastily entered the room. His eyes fell on the floor. "Good God!" he cried. "You didn't!" Nobody spoke. I told him not to, he said in a suffocated voice. I told him not to. I told him. He leaned against the wall, deathly sick, put his arms out feebly, and fell, fainting into the traveler's arms. He got fucking shot. The end.
There we go. I was waiting for the end.
I was like, oh, fuck. Wow. I knew this. It's Chekhov's gun.
Yep.
Chekhov's gun, fuckers. Like, that guy mentioned he wants to shoot things, and of course, somebody gonna get shot.
Yeah. Although in this case, with Chekhov's gun, the gun appeared in the fourth act.
Yes.
And then it was fired in the fourth act.
Yeah. Oops. Well, that is the end of his acting career.
Yeah. This is why guns are bad.
This is why guns are bad. This is also,
This is why April Fool's Day is fucking stupid. Don't play pranks on people.
This is why acting is bad.
This is why the theater is a terrible thing. Mothers, don't let your babies grow up to be actors. They're never at home and they're always alone. And then they'll get shot in the face.
Actors just hanging out in bars, scaring their friends. You know, someone's going to get shot eventually. Well, you know, that was a good story. I enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah.
I did not know where it was going. See, I thought a real ghost was going to show up. And maybe one did.
No.
George was in on it the whole time?
I don't think George was.
Because George saw it too.
Yeah. I think it was
Hearst. George saw Hearst. And Hearst
Yeah.
came in and goes, I saw it too.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then he was going like, oh my God, I saw this thing. It was so scary.
And then Summers, they went upstairs to go to sleep, and Summers like, don't go back down there. Like, that's fucking not smart.
Much more frightening than coming out and going, boo, is saying, I'm going to scare all you fuckers. Oh my God, I saw this thing. It was terrifying. Like, yeah. No, it was a good plan. He just screwed it up.
Well, there was just a gun in the room.
Yeah.
Which I don't think he was aware of.
Yeah. There's no accounting for gunplay.
Nope.
But the real moral of the story is, kids, don't go into theater. Don't try this at home. Leave acting to the professionals because it's stupid and dangerous.
And apparently you
and
can...
hurtful.
Yes. And hurtful. It's true. But also, moral of the story is apparently you can get a good nocturnal strangler at the Boar's Head Inn.
Yeah. Hey, real world challenge, listener. Next time you're out at a bar... sidle on up and order a nocturnal strangler and see what
the bartender
happens.
gives you. That has to be a drink.
It's got to be a drink.
I mean, that
right?
has to be a drink. I feel like now I have to look it up. Like, that's a great name for a drink if it's not. Nocturnal strangler cocktail. Cocktail.
Cocktail strangler.
The perfect cocktails for a murder mystery night. No, nothing comes up. There's a nocturnal. There's the nocturnal. There's nocturnal alchemy. So bartenders that listen, who wants to create a nocturnal strangler cocktail?
Dear listener, your challenge this week, should you choose to accept it, is to write in or text us or call us or message us on any of the social media. Look for Campfire Classics or write in to 5050artsproduction@gmail.com and use the secret passcode Nocturnal Strangler.
Yes, absolutely.
And what you're going to share with us is what you think belongs in the drink, the Nocturnal Strangler.
Yeah. And we can discuss it next week.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
We'll talk more about that next week.
Yeah. I have some ideas. All right. Well, that was a good one. Thanks, W.W. Jacobs, for another story of kind of the macabre and the traveling con man.
Yeah.
Because the story was about a con man who committed suicide before he was arrested in this inn, and he is the ghost, but then there was a macabre ghost story.
Yeah.
So he really married the two.
And statistically, someone in this story had syphilis.
Absolutely.
So my money's on George.
I was going to say George. He's the bartender for sure. He's been given a lot. I mean, he's the one that probably gives the nocturnal stranglers. So a lot of traveling salesmen coming through. Hey, bumping.
That thumping sound you just heard was my head hitting the microphone in disgust.
Because sometimes Ken is like, how am I engaged to this woman? How am I that lucky?
How did I get so lucky as to be marrying that?
And he's not being sarcastic at all, which is the cutest thing.
I got nothing else.
No, that's it. Right. That was a good one.
That was a fun story. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. And until next week, this has been Hellfire Classics, where we bring the classics to you in the afterlife.
Hellfire, Hellfire, Hellfire Classics Podcast.